Module 4 contains sample case studies and provides information regarding the steps taken from the initial hate occurrence to the final resolution stages.
Case study. Now we need to put all we have learned into practice and read through a case study together. Shannon is a woman from southern Alberta. She has an 11-year-old daughter named Melissa who plays in a minor hockey league. All the players on Melissa's team are Indigenous. Melissa's hockey team recently played a game at an opposing team's home rink. All the players on the opposing team are non-Indigenous. During the game, the referee repeatedly puts players from Melissa's team in the penalty box, whether this is for responding when they were slashed with a hockey stick or pushed by the opposing team. The opposing team did not receive any penalties. Throughout the game, Shannon calls out to the referees about the unfair penalties. Later in the game, 2 law enforcement officers arrive and approach Shannon's area. They ask which one is causing the disturbance, and a referee points out Shannon. The officers ask Shannon to leave the arena, and she complies. A few days later, Shannon's daughter discloses that as she was leaving the rink, a man watching the game called her a homophobic slur. Melissa responded by swinging her hockey stick at him. Words were exchanged, and as Melissa continued to leave the rink, the man attempted to swing a fist at her. A report of the incident was filed with law enforcement. When responding to cases like this, keep a few questions in mind, such as, are there bias indicators present in the case? Are hate crimes or incidents taking place? Are there concerns of individual or systemic discrimination? Who should this case be reported to? Who needs to know? And how can the community respond to this? With further discussion with Melissa and Shannon, we may also be able to determine if other witnesses view the incident as being motivated by hate, or if incidents like this have happened previously. Next, we want to look at what types of hate and discrimination are present. In the case study, we see multiple incidents taking place. The unfair treatment of Indigenous players, law enforcement being called to single out Shannon, and the homophobic slur used at Melissa are all incidents of hate. These are all generally considered non-criminal incidents. However, further information or the interpretation of law enforcement may change that. We also see a potential criminal incident in this case due to the man attempting to physically harm Melissa. Issues like these require further investigation from law enforcement. We can also see issues of both individual and systemic discrimination taking place in this incident. The incident begins at a systemic level, with the referee unfairly penalizing Indigenous players, but is also highlighted by the failure of other adults witnessing this to step in as Shannon has. We see systemic discrimination leading to individual discrimination, as law enforcement are called to respond to Shannon rather than the ongoing discrimination occurring on the hockey rink. We also see how individual discrimination further impacts Melissa during the confrontation with a man at the hockey game, but also in how she is hesitant to bring the incident up to her mother until a few days later. Individual and systemic discrimination are linked and both require the other to take place. How could we, as a community, respond to an incident like this? How can we rally behind people like Shannon and Melissa? We can look at a few options in this case. We can hold the Community Hockey League accountable for the behaviors of referees by reaching out to them. We can gather as a community to hold restorative justice circles and facilitate discussion amongst the people involved. We can approach the news, nonprofit organizations, and communities who have been marginalized to ensure that people are aware of what happened. We can file human rights complaints and hold law enforcement and hockey leagues accountable. But before we do any of these things, we need to listen and understand the victims of the incidents first. Ask them how they want to proceed and be victim informed. In all cases, never assume that you know best. The people who experience hate should be the ones leading the response from the community, as they know their needs best. It is in this way that we can ensure victims of hate, racism, and discrimination have both justice and dignity as we work together to create safer, more inclusive communities.
We hope this video provided you with a better understanding of how we, as a community, can better respond to hate, racism, and discrimination. Understanding and responding to hate on the front line is made possible by Heritage Canada and the collaborative partnership of the following social justice seeking organizations: Reach Edmonton, Shiloh Center for Multicultural Roots, Catholic Social Services, Alberta Hate Crimes Committee, John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights, and Coalitions Creating Equity Edmonton. Thank you for watching.